I would like to be confirmed that my screen is visible to you.
Yes, ma'am, your slides are visible. You can start your presentation.
Thank you very much. My name is Alina Khlghatyan. I am from Armenia. I'm a PhD scholar at the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, India, in the department. And today I'm very pleased to present my research paper titled Challenges of Learning Hindi for Armenian-Speaking Students. This is a preliminary analytical study based on the phonetic contrast between the two languages. In my research presentation, I will be covering following aspects: introduction, research questions, objectives, research methods, findings, conclusion, references. And let me begin with a brief introduction to the topic. Hindi and Armenian are both among the oldest languages of Indo-European language family, whereas Armenian is a separate branch in Indo-European language family, and there is no other language other than Armenian. Hindi comes into Indo-Iranian language family. Both Hindi and Armenian, they share structural as well as grammatical similarities, and differences are also visible. And due to these differences, Armenian-speaking students, while learning Hindi, may face challenges. And when it comes about learning other language or a foreign language, the first tool to be considered is contrastive analysis between the two languages. While identifying the differences between both languages, one can predict or assume what kind of challenges learners will face during learning language due to the interference of their mother tongue. And in my research paper, I had an attempt to identify phonetic contrasts between Hindi and Armenian, and later on those findings to predict what kind of challenges Armenian-speaking students may face while learning Hindi. On the basis of this introduction background, I have formulated several research questions which are following. Are there differences between the phonetic system between Hindi and Armenian? If they are, on what level they occur? And if these differences are creating any learning challenges for Armenian-speaking students? And if so, how to address this challenge? For addressing these questions, I have defined several research objectives, which are following: to identify phonetic differences between Hindi and Armenian, to improve teaching methods based on these findings, and in the future, based on these findings, to develop useful teaching materials specifically for Armenian-speaking students. And for approaching my objectives, I have applied two kinds of research methods. First of all, my primary method is contrastive analysis. This is a traditional way to identify the phonetic differences, contrasts between the two languages. And in the future, for supporting my findings, I have conducted a questionnaire with Armenian-speaking students. And here you can see I had 11 responses, a modest number. However, in the future, I'm keen to increase this number. So let's now move to the main aspect of my research paper, which is findings. During contrastive analysis of Hindi and Armenian, I have highlighted several contrasts between the phonetic system of Armenian and Hindi, which are followings. First of all, I would like to invite your attention to the retroflex consonants of Hindi language. Dar, tar, dar, dha, anam. These retroflex sounds in Hindi language are absent in Armenian. So we can predict that Armenian-speaking students may face challenges in this aspect while learning Hindi. The second important difference between Hindi and Armenian is regarding the vowel system of Hindi language. In Hindi, there are short and long vowels, or we can say also matra forms. And in Armenian, this aspect is absent, which can create challenges for Armenian-speaking students. The third important difference in phonetic system of both languages is regarding to the nasals or nasalized sounds, or in Hindi we can say anuswara, anunasikta, nya, nya, ra. These letters, these sounds, these phonemes are absent in Armenian language. So in this case also, Armenian-speaking students, we can predict that they will have challenges or difficulties while learning Hindi. However, I have to mention that in Armenian, there is nasal n sound, nasal dental, and also labial m, but the true nasals which are existing in Hindi, they are absent. And the fourth important contrast between the both languages is regarding the aspirated sounds, dh, dh, bh, which are existing in Hindi language. But in Armenian language, even though we have aspirated sounds like p, p, however, this three of them is absent. Armenian is lacking of this three sounds aspirated, which can create huge difficulties. And the last one is regarding to the conjunct consonants, or as in Hindi we say sanyukt vyanjan. In Armenian, we have consonant clusters, words which contain consonant clusters. But the way it exists in Hindi, in Armenian, it is different because in the writing system, consonant clusters are not changing the way in Hindi changes half letters. As I have already mentioned, in order to support my findings, I have conducted a questionnaire survey with Armenian-speaking students who learned Hindi or who were learning Hindi. And here is the picture. The first question for my survey was regarding the retroflex consonants, da, da, da. The question was whether they had difficulties of learning these letters or pronouncing these letters, and if they are substituting these letters with the Armenian dental letters like da, da, da. And here the graph you can see, 9.1% of participants answered yes, whereas the 45.5% of participants, they didn't have difficulties, and others, here 18.2% they said that till now they are doing these mistakes. And overall, if we will count, overall the majority of the participants, they said that in initial stages they had difficulties, or till now they are doing these mistakes. So we can say that our findings of contrastive analysis is quite true. The second question of the questionnaire was regarding the vowel system. When you listen to Hindi words containing short or long vowels, are you able to identify them? So 36.4% percentage of participants, they said that they can identify this, whereas 9.1% they can't identify, whereas it is short or long vowel in the word, and 27.3% they said these letters sound similar for them. And other percentage of participants also, they somehow say that they are trying to distinguish them with the help of stress, mostly easy to understand, though occasional mistakes occur. Overall, here also the picture is graph shows that most of the students in their initial stage of study had problems with difficulties with learning this vowel system of Hindi. And also one interesting thing, in my questionnaire, I had also included a task to translate sentences or small paragraphs from Armenian to Hindi. And even those students who said that they can identify those letters, however, in the written system, they did mistakes, errors, whereas there was need to write short vowels, they wrote long vowels, and in the contrary. So vowel system of Hindi is not only difficult and challenging for Armenian-speaking students. In my observation, I have seen that even in Hindi-speaking, non-Hindi-speaking students, also they are doing a lot of mistakes regarding to Matra system of Hindi language. And the third question of my questionnaire survey was regarding the nasal sounds. Have you had difficulties in pronouncing of nasal sounds and nasalizations? So here the graph shows that 45.5% of participants, they answered yes, whereas the same equal percentage of the participants said no, and 9.1% had difficulties in the initial stage of their study. And the last one is regarding to the aspirated sounds. Do you have difficulty pronouncing words formed with the aspirated consonants of Hindi, such as gh, jh, dh, bh? Here we see very interesting graph. 72.7% of participants answered no, and 27.3 in the initial stages of their study that had problem. So according to the contrastive analysis, we predicted that Armenian-speaking students also needed to have challenges or difficulties in this aspect, because in Armenian, these letters are absent. However, I would like to bring your attention into this point that in Armenian, there is a glottal h sound, which is helping Armenian-speaking students to master the letters g, j, d, b. In comparison of Armenian-speaking students, when we see Russian-speaking students, in Russian there is no glottal h, there is voiceless h. That's why while pronouncing words containing these letters, these sounds, phonemes of Hindi, they are substituting them with the help of kh. For example, Hindi words like Bhagwan, which is God, and religion, dharm, Armenian-speaking students, with the help of her, they will be mastering it, saying Bhagwan and Dharm. But Russian students, they will be changing its pronunciation. Even in the transliteration, it is being written like Bhagwan and Dharma. So now we can draw a conclusion. Contrastive analysis is a highly useful field for anticipating the kinds of difficulties learners may face due to the influence of native language. However, this is not merely the only tool to identify differences, and accurately it can't predict. While combining with error analysis, this can be a useful tool to identify differences that students can face, and later on those findings to create useful teaching materials, as well as to improve teaching methods for Armenian-speaking students. And here's the sources I have used for my research paper. And at the end, I would like to express my gratitude to my financial support, Galus Gulbenkian Foundation, Armenian Communities Department, to my administrative support, English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, India, and to the conference organizers, World Research Forum, for organizing this interesting international conference and giving us platform to share our research. And thank you all for listening and for your attention. Dhanyavad. Thank you. Questions are most welcome.